Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Monday, November 20th. This is a special edition of Aragon Live with yourself, Jim Lundy, and Adam Pease. We're here to talk about the drama going on at OpenAI with Sam Altman being ousted. Adam's one of our leads on generative AI. I'm the founder and CEO of Aragon, and we wanted to have a special, quick pre-Thanksgiving podcast just to talk about what the heck is going on. So, Adam, I'm going to turn it over to what kind of, you know, I guess started this whole thing when Altman was fired, I think on Friday by his board.
Yeah. So it's definitely been a whirlwind, and I mean, tech Twitter and everybody in tech has been kind of losing it over the situation. Rightly so, I think, because it was a real unexpected move by the board. Altman was clearly blindsided by this, and so was Greg Brockman, the CTO, who left with him. And so, getting into sort of what set this off, it sounded very abrupt, although it does sound like there's some conflict sort of underwater at OpenAI that's been brewing for a while. But in particular, one engineer, Ilya Sutskever, who's probably the most significant engineer at OpenAI, responsible for many of the innovations in transformer architecture that led us to the generative AI GPT based revolution that we're seeing right now. So really, one of the greatest minds in AI has sort of taken a stand. There's a lot of gossip going around, and I know we don't want to get too much into that, but there was clearly some drama going on at OpenAI between this scientist and Altman, and he really objected to their leadership. And him and apparently a few other less named employees went to the board and said, basically, we want Altman out. And it sounded like there were a few sort of things that they pointed to in this situation. One of them was the push to productize OpenAI, which we talked about a lot with the recent Dev Day. They have rolled out all these custom model features that are sort of aggressively oriented towards selling GPT models to the enterprise, when their original mission was a little more research oriented. So there's that, and then there's also, Jim. Maybe this is something I'd be interested to get your thoughts on. Is this story that's going around that Altman was actually speaking with a variety of different investors, in particular Middle Eastern investors, about starting a chip fab firm under the umbrella of OpenAI that would become an NVIDIA competitor and getting into the chip market too. And apparently, this was one of the things, in addition to sort of the aggressive productization, that irked the board. So I think, it's a combination of these sort of things that maybe not everyone was on board with, but then also probably some personal issues and drama that it's going to be hard for us to necessarily see what's going on fully from the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, one thing maybe we step back and just say, like, where was OpenAI and their funding? They did back in January get almost $10 billion of committed
Right.
investing from Microsoft. And we're going to bring Microsoft into the fray into the second. The winner in this is probably going to be Microsoft, but let's just jump back. They had funding from a couple of years ago from Microsoft, but they got a $10 billion round. I think that brought them to like about 13 billion in investment. But it's not clear that Microsoft had given them all the money yet.
Right.
So you can't fault a CEO for going out and trying to do deals and raise money. That's really what they hire CEO for, is rainmaker,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Right.
so you're kind of pointing at there's sounds like definitely internal conflicts, definitely people lobbying the board, definitely some people having success at lobbying the board, and the board blinking
Yeah.
and saying, "Oh, we're going to fire you," without having a plan.
Right. And I think another thing that we can bring in here too, to sort of, for anyone who doesn't know, OpenAI does have a very unique ownership structure and governance structure that's been with it since its inception. At the end of the day, OpenAI is a capped profit company, not a purely for-profit company. And so this did result in them basically taking this deal with Microsoft, where Microsoft was, only able to acquire, I think, 49% stake with the 10 billion investment. And this for this capped profit structure, the motivation for this, ostensibly at least, when OpenAI was founded, was so that if they were to build, world-changing, super intelligent AI, there would be a limit to how much they could profit from it, and they would, be incentivized to develop AI for the greater good. And this unique governance structure, though, I think has led to some conflicts and also sort of opportunities for shakeups like this, because this is one of those opportunities, I think, where plausibly what may have happened behind the scenes is Ilya and maybe some other engineers felt that OpenAI had really strayed from this sort of objective of making the safest, most advanced AI possible towards making something more enterprise and consumer ready. And due to the sort of way that OpenAI is structured and due to its governance, and especially the way that the board has sort of internalized these governance principles, um, it I think creates opportunities for stuff that you wouldn't maybe normally see in Silicon Valley with a company that was, you know, the darling of everybody in Silicon Valley right now. Really did not need this. You know, this could be the end of OpenAI, and there's no real reason this needed to happen. But when you look at the kind of strange structure OpenAI has, you can see that it lends itself to these kind of shakeups, I think. And I think
Yeah.
that, go ahead, sorry.
No, no, I mean, so yeah, so you're right. But companies can change their profit model and their incorporation papers at any time. It definitely sounds like a conflict. Now, let's just fast forward over the weekend of, lots of meeting, lots of drama, employees having a backlash, threatening to leave. And then the Sunday story is that Satya was trying to hire Sam Altman and I believe his co-founder Brockman to join Microsoft.
Right,
And then
right,
they named a new CEO for OpenAI Sunday night. And then Brockman and Altman say they'll rejoin OpenAI if the whole board quits. And not all of them have.
right.
So wild stuff. But again, you look at the in billions invested by Microsoft. One of the things we were talking about before we started the record button is now again, early valuations early in the year had them valued at 29 billion. I think the valuation goes much higher than that. I think you're talking about, probably Microsoft looking at 30 to 100 billion to own it because who are they going up against? Amazon and
Right,
maybe even Google.
right,
So of course Microsoft's going to say, "Oh, we'll hire you right away," and they could take the bottom out from under it.
right.
They wouldn't own GPT. That
Yeah,
belongs to OpenAI, but how quickly could they copy it? The
yeah.
answer is very quickly.
And so, what do you think the chances are that they buy it outright versus just kind of poaching the employees who are ready to leave with Altman?
Money talks, and if they're saying, "Hey, we can just get these people," they're going to take them. I think
Yeah,
they're going to take them. Microsoft's going to win no matter what.
yeah,
Remember, they had, as you said, 49% investment rights.
yeah,
Now, how much is the 51% that's left worth? Yet to be determined. But if they can gut a company by basically doing acqui-hires, meaning like we're going to buy the company, they don't even have to buy it. They bought 49%. Say, oh, we're just going to take the employees. So
yeah,
then what you have is you have the chief scientist left, and you're going to have to try to rebuild that. That's a very tall order. It's a very tall order. So it's a lift and shift for Microsoft. So Microsoft wins if they stay. Microsoft wins if they lose. I got to think that from an investor perspective, it's bad if they all leave and go to Microsoft. That's bad for OpenAI. It's bad for the investor community. But a very immature board at OpenAI for sure.
yeah,
You never let this happen. You
yeah,
do not fire the CEO. You put them on notice,
yeah,
right? You put them on notice. So immaturity, not thinking it through. They certainly didn't have a plan. They just said, "Oh,
mm,
we don't like not responsible AI, so we're just going to farm." Instead of saying, "You know what, let's put some guardrails. You can put a
yeah,
performance, a compensation plan in, blah, blah, blah." Now, look, Altman was also known as not really being that money motivated. He's a
hmm,
true AI guy, and he's done some great things in, short stints like at Reddit and at, I think, Y Combinator. So, but I mean, but truly good stuff. And he kind of, I think, mesmerized the employees and got them going.
yeah. I think that's a big question for a lot of people. Is kind of it. You know, we've seen already. I think more than 100 employees have basically either said that they stand with Altman or outright left. And so there's obviously a lot of people at not a very big company who really stand by this guy and stand by his vision and feel really upset about what's happened. And I think that's a sentiment overall in tech, as you rightly pointed out. And I think that the question a lot of people have, you know, assuming Microsoft doesn't step in, and assuming they are able to retain at least some of the core talent that allows them to serve what are still basically the most sought after experiences that you have in tech right now. Like, I think he said something like 95% of Fortune 500 companies are using OpenAI at the dev day. And so people are using this tech a lot right now. And I think the question is, if Microsoft doesn't step in and just outright, gut it, like you said, can OpenAI without Altman, in the lead, can they keep on delivering these services to users and to enterprises that everyone is so hungry for? And the last thing I'll say on this note is that in the wake of their dev day, anyone who's used ChatGPT recently can probably attest to this, that their system is just slammed, and their network infrastructure cannot keep up with their user base, to the point where they had to shut off their pro subscriptions. So they don't let you subscribe to pro anymore. And this was before Altman left, or before he was kicked out. And so they're clearly having issues meeting the demand. And so now it's like, wow, what a time to fire your CEO. And I'm curious whether they'll be able to recover for this, especially when it comes to just that you have such a great product, everyone wants it. You just need to make it a little more available and scalable. Can they do it without him?
Yeah, well, so basically, if we just jump ahead and say, what's this mean for people that are going to use OpenAI? First of all, it means uncertainty.
Yeah.
It also means doubt. And when you put the F in front of that, it means fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are going to use that against the OpenAI Microsoft partnership. So there's a downside of this. You had alluded earlier that Altman was maybe working on some other ventures. Were they going to form a separate company? Was there already wars going on inside the board? They're privately held, so we can't get any of that information. But it sounds like this might not have been like an overnight thing. It might have been brewing for a while. But you don't go and raise that kind of money and fire your talented young CEO. You just don't do that. So
Yeah.
this is going to be a boon for people like Google and maybe Amazon Bedrock, maybe Meta with Llama. But it's not good for OpenAI. In the short term, it's not good for Microsoft. In the long term, Microsoft probably wins because they'll probably get some of those people. A lot of AI researchers at Microsoft have left because they said we don't need you anymore, or they felt threatened because of the OpenAI thing.
Yeah.
But basically saying that because of AI safety issues we're going to fire Sam Altman, that's BS.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no safety issue today.
Certainly not with what they're giving us. No, certainly
not even close. This is not Terminator AI stuff, right? Skynet. It's not.
No.
Yeah, so I think we're going to keep watching this. We wanted to do this special edition of Aragon Live because it's hot off the press. We're going to put this out for free for people to listen to. There's obviously more coming, and the rest of the story is probably going to come out. But let's just say shame on the board for doing this and not having open communications and not basically kind of having a plan.
Yeah.
And Microsoft being greedy, you got to give them credit. They jumped on it. Nobody else jumped on it.
Google could have jumped on it. I thought they might.
Google could have jumped on it. Google could have jumped on it. So Microsoft, give them credit for jumping on it. So we'll talk more about this at our Aragon Live on Wednesday, but we wanted to get this out right away with some instant analysis of the drama going on at OpenAI, and we'll just throw OpenAI and Microsoft into the whole mix.
Yeah.
More coming. Adam, thanks a lot. This has been a special edition of Aragon Live, and we'll talk to you on Wednesday. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.